Hey everyone, blasters charged and ready. We're going back to Mars, folks. Doom 3. Back to the UAC and all those lovely demons.
Sounds like fun.
Now hold your fire for a sec, because this deep dive, it's a little different. We're not just talking gameplay, we're going deeper. We found this Spanish review, really digs into what Doom 3 tried to do, and let's just say, it sparks some debate, even all these years later.
Doom 3! Oh yeah, that one always gets people fired up.
Right. Was it horror done right, or an action game that lost its way in the dark?
Well, that's what we're here to figure out, and thankfully, I've got our resident gaming guru to guide us through the madness.
Happy to be here, as always.
So before we crack open this review, set the scene for us. Doom 3, it dropped at a kind of pivotal time for first-person shooters, yeah. What was going on back then that might have influenced how it turned out? Oh, for sure. It was a real crossroads. Like, on the one side, you had that classic Doom DNA, run and gun, pure adrenaline. But then you also had games like Half-Life shaking things up, bringing in these deep stories, worlds you could lose yourself in. Doom 3, it felt like it wanted to do both.
Trying to bridge that gap between, heart-pounding action and this new era of, immersive storytelling. Ambitious doesn't even begin to cover it.
Exactly.
And the review we're looking at, it really digs into how Doom 3 went all in on creating this believable world.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted you to feel what it was like to be trapped on that Martian hellscape.
Yeah, you really get a sense of isolation in that game.
For sure, for sure. So what were some of the things this reviewer highlighted that really sold that feeling of dread, that sense of, oh hell, I'm stuck on Mars with demons?
Well, they were really impressed with the audio logs, actually, the PDAs you find scattered around.
Oh, and those things. Creepy as hell.
Right. But they weren't just there to tell you where to go next. The reviewer actually points to this one log from a scientist who's clearly losing it as a perfect example of how Doom 3 used environmental storytelling. You're piecing together this horrifying backstory, all while dreading what's waiting for you around the next corner.
Ugh, yeah, those logs always sent chills down my spine.
Yeah.
Knowing what was happening on that base.
Definitely effective.
It wasn't just the story, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
The atmosphere, the whole vibe of Doom 3, that played a huge part, too.
Absolutely. The sound design, for one thing. The reviewer raved about how it kept you on edge constantly. Every creak, every hiss of steam, that you know something's out there hunting you.
And speaking of atmosphere, gotta ask about the lighting, or should I say lack thereof. This review, they really focus on how Doom 3 used darkness, almost like a weapon itself.
Yeah, it was a bold choice. And the reviewer, they argue that's actually where things get interesting. Because you've got this push and pull, right? On one hand, it's Doom. People expect that fast, in-your-face action.
Totally want to blast demons, not play hide and seek.
Exactly. But then Doom 3 cranks up the dread, makes you terrified to step into the light, even. And the reviewer, they point out that this darkness, as effective as it is for atmosphere, it sometimes clashes with how you actually play the game. They mention a few parts you can barely even see if you're hitting the enemy. Too dark.
So frustrating. Just firing blindly into the abyss, hoping for the best.
Pretty much. And it forces you into this defensive playstyle, always looking over your shoulder, when really, you just want to go and guns blazing, right?
It's Doom. I should be the one scaring the demons, not the other way around.
Right. So it's like this constant internal struggle. The game can't decide. Is it pure horror or is it classic demon-slaying action? And that seems to be a recurring theme in the review.
Huh. Fascinating. So we've covered the good, the bad, and seriously spooky. But what about those missed opportunities? This reviewer, they had some ideas for things they would have done differently, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. They had a few thoughts. Level design was one. They dug the atmosphere, don't get me wrong, but felt things got a little, samey after a while. But wasn't there a whole minecart section? That gotta count for something, right? Oh, yeah. Actually, the reviewer brings that up, too. As a missed opportunity, if you can believe it, it showed the devs were, trying new things, breaking out of the mold a little, but it felt kind of tacked on, almost there, but not quite. They suggested maybe digging into other ways to shake up the pacing, something that leans into the whole darkness, psychological thing, instead of just rails.
Yeah, now that you mention it, there were a few times Doom 3 messed with your head. Hallucinations, stuff like that. Could they have run with that more? Make the environment itself feel dangerous? Even when it's not full of demons.
Interesting, right. The reviewer didn't get into specifics, but they did say that Doom 3, it felt a bit hesitant with the variety. Imagine if they'd really gone all in on the psychological horror angle, blending reality, nightmares, you'd never know what was real. That could have been something special.
Wild. Though, would that have scared off the hardcore action crowd, you think? Or would it be this, like, cult classic now, praise for going all in? Guess we'll never know.
Nope, part of the mystery. But that's what good game design, good reviews even, should do. Make you think, make you wonder. Doom 3, maybe not perfect, but it definitely got people talking, even all these years later.
For sure, for sure. So, wrapping up our little Doom 3 deep dive here, what's the final verdict? Is it worth revisiting? Flaws and all?
100% yes. It's a time capsule, that game. Captures this weird moment in gaming history where everyone was trying to figure out how to make these games more than just action, more immersive. Did they nail it every time? Debatable. But they took risks, and sometimes those risks, they pay off big time. Even if it's just the memory of creeping through the dark, flashlight beam shaking, hoping your batteries don't die before the next imp spots you.
Perfectly put, I'd say. Flawed masterpiece. Horror game in action's clothing. However you slice it, Doom 3 left a mark.
Thanks for joining us on this trip down memory lane, everyone. And hey, if you're brave enough to boot up Doom 3 again after this, well, just remember what we talked about. Keep that flashlight close. You never know what's hiding in the dark. Until next time, folks.